Smart 24, driving business.
Warm welcome to the Policon, and many thanks for joining us yet again as we continue to digest matters that affect the political and economic space in the country. And well, in today's episode, we are looking deeper into the NRM's manifesto. So we are trying to understand how far they've come in regards to implementation of the same, and trying to understand where the challenges have been, what the projections, and then what you should be able to expect as a citizen as well, because these are some of the key things that you really need to know of in the 5 years from 2021 to 2026. A huge manifesto that is as well driven around securing your future as a Ugandan. Quite a number of programs that the government has been able to implement since 2021. There are those that are already under the dugouts, and they are also getting ready to be implemented as we speak this very year. So these are more of the discussions that we are going to be having on the Policon today. And well, besides that as well, remember to follow us on social media, Smart24 TV now on Twitter. Then also remember that we are as well on YouTube at Smart24 TV. Please remember to subscribe in case you want to do a rerun or to recap most of the business stories and other interviews that are out there. You as well reminded to subscribe. The on mainstream channel is 320 on GOTV, the DSTV channel is 372 for more business updates here and there. Here we continue to drive business, and then joining us to discuss this and more, we have Mr. Willis Bashasha, who is the director of the Manifesto Implementation Unit. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, and you're welcome, Sonko. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, good. That we are pleasured to be hosted by you this very time. As we speak about the manifesto in regards to the NRM, first of all, how has this year 2023 been for you as the director?
What can I say? I think my well-being is not different from any other person that is
you're also
employed by the government of Uganda. So if salaries come in time, well and good. If they don't delay, we all suffer the same kind of arrangement. But we are just excited as a unit because we have just concluded what I would call the Manifesto Week, which usually begins with 12th May. 12th May, we commemorate the swearing in of our president, and we decided that we should celebrate in style, and this is celebrated in form of accountability by coming out and inviting the key players who are the political supervisors of the different MDAs to come and update the country and the citizens on how far we have come on this subject matter of the manifesto. Yeah.
Okay, and now how would you assess the overall performance of or effectiveness of the NRM Manifesto in addressing the pressing social and economic challenges that our country is facing so far? We are now down to 3 years, I should say.
Yeah, first of all, the crafters of the manifesto usually are guided by our political ideology, the principles that form the ideology of the party, but you will find that many of the manifestos and the ideas that they are in really are a result of the diagnosis that the party has been able to look at and therefore come in handy to address. This is also in line with our Vision 2040 most times, and largely this alignment is also in the what I would call our National Development Plan. So the assessment is what so far the Right Honorable Prime Minister was able to communicate to the country. We are currently around 23%, and the rest of the what I would call the 77% is work in progress. And a manifesto must also be appreciated that this is a 5-year journey, so we couldn't have
done everything in 2 years.
Within these 2 years, well knowing where we are coming from. So that is the official assessment position.
And are there any specific policies or initiatives that have yielded some significant progress so far, when you come to think of it?
Yeah, you see, there were 5 thematic areas within this manifesto. One was creating jobs and wealth. The other one is delivering water, education, and health. The other one is ensuring justice and equity, then protecting life and property, and the last one is achieving economic and political integration. Definitely, there are a number of strides in many of them, but I will say that the key flagship area is this parish development model. This is where we are trying to see how we can pull out our people, that 39% that are still in the subsistence economy, and bring them into the cash economy. I think this is one of the key focus of the agenda, and you will realize that everything, whether at program level or within these thematic areas that were prescribed by the current manifesto, have a root in the way the PDM succeeds. So if everything at the PDM or at the parish level succeeds, the results will be shooting into all these programs that are talked about by the National Development Plan, and also these thematic areas that are being prescribed by the manifesto.
Okay, this brings me to understanding something to do with wealth creation. I think with the Operation Wealth Creation, which has been there for some time as well, there's quite a number of initiatives, besides the fact that even the PDM is also part of the other programs that is pushing for the same. How far have you gone, for example, as the office and then as the NRM government in creating this wealth, sustainable wealth, because the president always mentions about sustainability of this wealth?
First of all, the issue of wealth creation and sustainability is very, very critical and important for the citizens. And the president has been very clear on this matter by saying there is a lot of investment the government has done in areas which support development. Talk of roads, talk of electricity, talk of health facilities. This whole infrastructure is very important but he still says the citizens need money in the pocket. And this initiative and the initiatives you're talking about of wealth creation were all aimed at how we can manage to reduce poverty and then be able to allow our people have enough money to spend on. So a good road can be passing by, electricity can be passing by, but that does not put money into your pocket. So all the programs that have been trying to be designed in this area has been what I would call the livelihood programs, where to support how can we bring money into the pocket of the individual and the pocket and the basket of the household. So in that respect, because of those interventions, we have been able to witness, because by the time we were entering into the 2016-2021 term, the people, the WUBO statistics by then were around 68% in the subsistence economy. But you can see this has now gone down. By the time we came into the 2021-2026 term, this had gone up to 39. So that tells you that the interventions have not been for nothing. Now with this PDM, if it is well executed, well managed, we should be able to reduce that number substantially, or we should be able to invite more people into the cash economy than currently in. Yeah.
We're into the budget month, and of course the national budget allocations is the new talk of town. But besides that, when you come to think of the allocations, do you think there has been enough allocations to push for the NRM Manifesto, especially in the next financial year, or there are other key units that need more budget allocations improved, and as well tightened?
I will say we are still studying that, because the budget has just been passed. I need to go further and look at that, because the level at which we are engaged in the process of budgeting, sometimes some of these proposals are not absorbed, depending, I think, on national priorities and whatever. Because our views have been, how do we, the strategic view would be, how do we support the productive sectors so that they can be able to make the economy recover very fast, and then through that we are able to have enough resource envelope. Yes. This resource envelope will be able to help in the implementation of this, because manifesto is nothing but service delivery. You know, when the party comes into power, yes, and forms government, this manifesto is translated into a blueprint for service delivery, because now you are serving every Ugandan. Yes. It is no longer going back to the people and tell them I'm this and that, but now it's like, yeah, we are in government, thank you for choosing us, and these we are on and we want to deliver. These roads we are building, every Ugandan enjoys them. The highest facilities, every Ugandan enjoys them. True. They are not for the party. So in that respect, is that the national budget should be able to support this service delivery depending on the national priorities. And like I said, we are still doing some analysis, and we want to see whether some of these allocations have really addressed some of these challenges as they are. Because one of the key impediments of successful implementation is limited resource envelope. Because if you don't have enough capital, many of the proposals, many of the commitments, many of the interventions that are being proposed on how we can be on this journey of lifting Ugandans out of peasantry, yes, they are investments that require huge resources, and of which I don't think our domestic revenue capacity may support. So these are areas that we need to analyze properly, and also see whether what will be how will the government move on some of them, just in case the domestic revenue is not adequate. Do they go and borrow? You know, that kind of stuff. But what we need is that we must make sure that the Ugandans, at the end of the day, see these commitments realized.
Okay, when you come to think about the manifesto again, what are some of the systems that you've been able to employ to ensure that this particular manifesto comes to pass? And besides that, which other systems have fostered the implementation of accountability and transparency within the manifesto?
Well, I will say what you call systems, I will call them like methods of which we deploy to make sure this is a success. First of all, we have what we call engagements, both at the center and at the local government level. Actually, 80% of the implementation of this service delivery is done at the local government level. Now, we have what we call inception meetings, and these we engage all the local leaders, the core leadership team at the district, RDC chairman, 5 chairman, party, chief administrative officers, mayors of all the local governments in this country. We take them through the inception for them to appreciate what are these commitments that are within this, and we have ably done that. Secondly, as part of ensuring communication horizontally across government to be able to appreciate and also to ensure this is done, we proposed to the accounting officers, both the PSCs and heads of accounting agencies, heads of agencies of government and local governments to appoint what we call manifesto focal persons. So this acts as our liaison mechanism, and these manifesto focal persons must be heads of planning and or evaluation. And why we insist on that is that because these are the people who are now going to cascade these service delivery agenda for this given term into the planning and the budgeting frameworks of each MDA, and also the prioritization aspects. So that is another way. The third way is where we have our now monitoring and tracking by physically going to the field to confirm whether what this center, because they report to us regularly, whether what they are telling us is real on the ground, and then engaging the local leaders also as part of validation, but also visiting, particularly whether these projects are there and how they are going. And then through that, we have regular meetings, quarterly, with the MFPs they tell us and assess, and then from there we're able to analyze and also pick sample. Where do we go and see whether that is, if you are telling us, Minister of Education is informing us, we've built so many seed schools across the country, we would want to know where they are and at what status, and we go and we pick some information. And then when we come, we are able to also share with them the appreciation on the ground. So thirdly, we have I told you this manifesto is also aligned to NDP3. So we have the NPA also doing its evaluation mechanism through which we work together, and we are able also to share the kind of status that is going on across the country. We also have the M&E in the Prime Minister's office, which also does some evaluation work, of which we also meet and share. And we also have now the APEX here, of which we are members. Okay. So the APEX is largely interested in seeing how government is effective for purposes of making the right decisions based on results. Okay. And we are members of that forum. Mm-hmm. So through that, we have what I would call a big and robust mechanism that oversees how all these issues are done.
Well, you've mentioned the National Planning Authority, and it brings me to my other question regarding which other government agencies or ministries have worked hand in hand with you in order to ensure that the manifesto, the NRM Manifesto, is a success. Are there some others that have jumped onto the same boat and are helpful? And if at all there are few, which other do you think should be in the same line with you?
Yeah, I can say the workings mechanism is there, although not very concretized. I would say we work with the M&E of the Prime Minister's office. We work with the APEX Secretariat of here, and we also work with NPA in this framework of ensuring this is done. Maybe I also need to share with you that we liaise with also our party secretariat. So many times than not, whenever we have these engagements, we also invite the party secretariat to be party of these discussions and engagements, whether at the center or even at the regional level. That's why we also invite our party chairpersons at the district level to also appreciate what is government proposing and how is approaching to this work, although they are outside the main government structure. But it is also important if they get this information and then they can be able to appreciate. But I would also say that we have not done well in the area of communication. And of late, we are engaging very closely with the Minister of ICT
to ensure that the masses
national
get
guidance, so that because we have the content and the rest of the information, but we need to have this content, this information disbursed up to the last citizen, so that Ugandans can be able to understand. Now, when you leave this space, this gap of communication, this is where you find some people coming in and even to the extent of saying government had done nothing. And that should not be the case. Or burdening His Excellency the President, the Principal, to be the one who is always explaining these things. Yet, these are the things we do, they are there, and as players, as executors at different levels, we should be able to come to the public and say, this is what we have done. If you are Minister of Works, if you are Minister of Water, if you are Minister of Lands, these things are there and they can be explained. If there are challenges, we should also explain them so that the citizens are at peace, and then they can be able to appreciate government agenda.
You know, when you mentioned of communication, I wanted to at least also understand, do you feel in the first 2 years of implementing the manifesto, are most of the Ugandans in sync with the objectives of what the president promised initially?
At the moment, I can say with confidence, yes. From the recent
assessments you've been doing.
Yeah, no, even the communication, because we are partnering with ICT and national guidance, and I believe a lot has been communicated. Then another way of how we have been going about it is through our frontline officers, who are the RDCs, who are employed by this office. Now, through these, and the leaders of government, local government leaders, we have been trying to guide and task them to say the manifesto is not in Kampala. The manifesto is here. If we are talking of delivering electricity at all headquarters of sub-counties, how many sub-counties have been connected and are not? If you are talking of seed schools per sub-county, how many seed schools have been brought or are constructed within your district? How many health centers are upgraded or are being constructed newly within your district? These are issues that are part of the district development plans and can be explained by. So that is another mechanism through which we've been trying to communicate, taking advantage of this 1 hour on the different radio systems. But we are coming out with an idea that we should make this more robust and more regular. We should not only communicate during the manifesto week, but we should have this consistently done and sustainably maintained, so that Ugandans from time to time are able to appreciate. In fact, now when I'm moving around, the feedback I get, people are like, oh, we didn't know these things are there. I said, yes, they are there. And maybe now we need also to go beyond the talking and produce visual effects. People need to appreciate even
by seeing.
Yeah, by seeing. I think it's more believing than probably when we write or produce.
For them to read.
Absolutely. So that is another way of how we are planning to move.
Okay. Yeah. By the look of things, when you got done with the manifesto week, what are some of the key highlights that you ideally, got in touch with, and you were like, well, we are doing well? Because I think after the implementation, you assessed during the week of the manifestation. I think that week gave you a little bit of a picture.
We even in the same spirit, this is work in progress. We are still assessing. But I think me as a person who has been tracking and looking at this manifesto, because when you are bringing a manifesto, you are talking about the whole spectrum of performance of government. I was keenly impressed by the developments within the science area. I think this is an area that Ugandans had not appreciated and knowing.
Now they are jumping on
exactly what is being done when we talk of launching space satellite issues. Yes. When we are talking of development of human vaccines, these Chira motors, the buses which are on the roads, and other developments that are within the
technology
science
and innovation spaces.
Science, technology, secretariat. It is very, very amazing. And very few Ugandans may be knowing this. And when you look at issues like vaccines, the anti-vaccine, this would have solved a lot of problems for our farmers. And what was also exciting is how they have also developed something to do with productivity of labor. I'm told they have a formula. And you can imagine if now we can help on how Ugandans can be able to assess how much we can put in to be able to produce so much. Because it looks like our productivity levels as workforce is very low. And this is not good for the country. And to me, if this formula is very well developed and shared with the responsible agencies, or either Minister of Labor or Minister of Public Service, and it's able to be applied across government work, even in the private sector, that would be very great for the country.
Well, and I think most of the Ugandans will agree with the fact that, appreciate how fast the government has been able to at least support the ICT sector, which is driving the entire innovation and technology. That is why the uptake is so wide lately. And everyone is so amazed with how much innovation Uganda has. We already have market awaiting for the Kira EVs, for example. So that clearly shows you how much Uganda's innovation world or innovation sector is growing. There are lots of other key things that we are learning step by step, but who knows, we shall be building up on the same. But after the break, when we return, we are still assessing the NRM Manifesto implementation and greatly looking at the past 2 years of the manifestation. I did mention something about the fact that at the start of the manifesto, or at the start of this term, 2021 to 2026, after the president was sworn in, you get to realize that amongst the key issues he mentioned was securing your future. Not only making money, but also trying to sustain that wealth of yours that will be keeping you in the next few years of your retirement. Our discussions on the Policon, where we talk politics and economics, is coming back shortly after the break. So stick around with us as we return with more conversations. We are building up on the same that we've been having, and this time around we shall be looking at the civil society organizations as well as the private sector. How have they been helpful in implementing the manifestation of the NRM, or what you could call the NRM Manifesto?